Welcome back to Drop a Jew with Malaka. Today I have a special guest today, someone I consider a little bro, but the little bro is the big bro now, right? I got Coach Kobe here from Building Brothers617 in the
What's
building.
up, people?
How you doing today?
Well, thank you.
All
How
right.
are you?
Doing good, doing good. I'm blessed to be here today, be on the set and ready to drop some jewels, right?
Definitely.
All right. So Building Brothers617. It's a movement.
Yeah, it's going good, better than I expected.
Better than you
Better
expected.
than I expected.
All right.
I'm not even gonna say good or bad. It's just going better than I expected.
Hey, what more can you ask for, right?
That's right.
All right. So we just, about the show. It's Drop a Jew.
Right.
It's candid discussions, but it's real talk. But we gonna learn today.
Right.
All right.
Right.
All right. Let's get started. So, all right. Tell us what Building Brothers617 is. Let's get right into it.
So Building Brothers, I came up with this idea. Well, it was an idea for over 6 years now.
Wow.
Back in 2016, I was fighting a case and just.
Okay, you know what?
I was tired of that.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Hold on. You went into it for real. Before we get into that, who is Coach Kobe? Who is Coach Kobe? Because that's going to bring us to Building Brothers, right? We got to start with you first, right?
Okay, that's fair. Coach Kobe. I'm a man of many hats, man. I'm a father, son, a brother, a young black man just trying to figure it out. Trying not to get sucked up too much more into the system.
Okay.
And lead by example.
All right. So you said a lot, but you didn't say enough.
Okay.
you said a lot because you said, first of all, you said black man, right? So thank you for representing, because we need representation. But a father, brother, right? And someone trying to lead by example.
Right.
Right. So what does that mean?
So as a adolescence, I would say I felt like I was misguided.
Okay.
A lot of the things I glorified was misrepresented.
Oh, that's what we've been hearing about a lot lately in the news, right?
So I felt like I followed the right and wrong trends because I wouldn't be here today if I didn't follow some of the things I did. But it wasn't the right thing as far as how I could have been living. So when I say I'm trying to lead by example, if I could tell a young man, like, yo, listen, you go down this street, this was gonna happen, because I done already been down this street. I don't expect every young man to be receptive to the information, but I do understand that there's gonna be a small few that's like, yo, all right, Coach Kobe told me don't do that. I'm not gonna do it because he already did it, and I'm not preachy with it.
Yeah.
You want to know why you shouldn't go? Here's my whatever my proof of why you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, for sure. But okay, so it sounds like the word coach, right? It sounds like you coaching young men. You're almost, not almost, but a mentor for young men and women.
Mostly young men. Every now and again, I have.
Okay, so youth, right?
Yeah.
Where? What youth? Where they at?
All over the city of Boston, for real.
Okay, so
like,
Boston.
I haven't had a youth from one direct part of the city, but all over Boston.
Okay, so all right, let's get right into it, because you started off telling me, I asked you what about who you are, and then you kind of went back to like this. You caught a case, and I was like, wait, hold on, because I don't want that to be your whole story, because that's not your whole story.
Right.
But it's a big part of the story, right? And why you're here today. And let me just say, it's part of our show is about representation, right? So we need. I started the show because I want us to have our own narratives.
Yeah. We need more of that.
Let me say that again. I want us to have our own narratives.
We need more of that.
In control of our own stories. And for so long, the white dominant culture has kind of had us tricked, and that's why I want to get into a little bit, because I knew you as a good kid, right? I knew you as a good kid. So how does someone, and for me to say you're a good kid when I was a bad kid, no, I'm just joking. I was a good kid, but I knew you as a good kid. So for you to say you got to that point, how does a good kid get to a bad point, right? Let's talk about that briefly, but let's talk about that, and because it all comes I'm gonna
So
make some connections here.
so for I don't want to speak for all the good kids. I'm gonna speak for me,
Right.
and I feel like a lot of good kids can relate to this. Like it's like when you want to be a good kid and you want to do more, but it's like in your house, out your house, it's not enough for you to grasp. It's not enough for the right doing being done for you to know better. So
Okay.
it's like if I want to do right, but I'm not seeing right done, how much how much more right am I gonna be than what I'm seeing?
Okay.
So for me, it was more so like the environment,
Okay.
my household,
Okay.
the things I was trying to escape,
Mhm.
not realizing the path it was really driving me down.
Right. Right. So you brought up environment, right?
Right,
So we have a good kid who's speaking for himself, right? And there's so many other good kids, and these are the kids you're probably mentoring and
right.
coaching. I don't think kids are born bad. I don't.
No,
I
not
don't
at
think
all.
kids or something maybe. But no, no, hold on. No,
uh,
but most kids aren't born bad, right? They don't make born aren't born making poor decisions.
right,
But you brought up something: environment,
right.
environment. What kind of environment we talking
So
about?
it's like, and this is half me, half just a hypothetical thing.
Okay,
If a single mom bringing different men to the house
okay,
periodically
mhm,
or however it goes,
yeah, consistently.
right? There's different learned behaviors that that young person's gonna see
Okay, absolutely.
from the mom perspective, the guy perspective, and sometimes a parent's gonna lead just, oh, I gotta run to the store. Now you're with a complete stranger to you, not so much your parent, but to yourself, where you might pick up on some things that you think's cool that might not really be cool, but it's like, damn, an adult's doing it. Why can't I do it?
Right.
Like some kids suffer from that. Like I was the kid that even though I wanted to do good, if you tell me don't do something, I gotta see why you said don't do
Okay.
it.
So curiosity, right?
Yeah,
The curiosity, the natural curiosity of the child. That's a natural ability. That's
like
how we born.
so it's like too much curiosity though will lead you far astray, and then
Okay.
sometimes you lose yourself in that curiosity.
Okay. Okay.
So it's more or less like the learned behaviors
Hmm.
is what, in my opinion, I'm gonna say would turn a good kid bad because after learning so much behavior, it's like you kind of lose a sense of yourself.
Yeah. Okay. The learned behaviors. Well, so the learned behaviors come from household or community or both.
Both, but it
Okay.
definitely starts in the house.
Okay.
In
And
my opinion, it starts in the house.
okay. So can you give me an example of another learned behavior? It doesn't
So
have to be yours. It could be
so
hypothetical.
like this one is good. So for me, I'm seeing my dad and my stepdad do certain things where it's like those are the first males I see on the
Yeah.
wake up, going to sleep, whatever. So it's like, all right, cool. Now there might be a kid that's not exposed to the same thing, but because now I want to feel cool, I go show what I was shown in the house,
Yeah.
and then there's gonna be somebody cooler than
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
in the community.
Yeah.
That's like, oh yeah, you seen that? Well, I seen this.
I
Now it
seen
comes
this.
into a
Yeah.
whole what's the proper terminology for this?
Just say it. Just say it's real talk. Real talk.
It comes into a, a macho thing. Who's more macho?
Yeah.
Like who could flex their muscle more? Who's done
Mm.
more present day dumb stuff?
Yeah.
Back then it was cool stuff.
Yeah. So, all right. Can I say this? Well, I always ask that question. Can I say stuff? And I'll be like, can I ask you a question on the show that's asking you questions? But a lot of times, I think so. What you're saying is correct, right? Like sometimes what you see is what you emulate. That's what children naturally do. You go on copycat. But I also think sometimes I think of the household. You brought up the household and like seeing things, maybe, and you didn't go into specifics, but it's kind of like I know what you're saying type of thing.
Right,
But
right.
you're seeing things, right? And I wonder, right, because you're growing up in Boston, right, and in the urban neighborhood, in the hood, right. So like we're gonna in the hood. There's certain conditions,
Yeah.
right, and I want to say this: although we see things in our households, in our community, like as you get older, like when you're young, you're looking at it like, oh, you're kind of fascinated. These things are like promoted
Right.
in our neighborhoods. Toxic trauma,
Right.
desensitization is like promoted in our neighborhoods, but we're so desensitized. But those are all part of conditions. What if someone, like all the things that you've seen growing up, good or bad, but probably the more bad things, right? Because like in these neighborhoods, there's certain conditions. Is you can go to any hood or community, right, where mostly you know people that look like you and I live there, and you'll find some common behaviors.
Definitely.
And what I'll say is, what if someone was behind wearing a what's the mock suit, like a scientist,
Yep.
and
Yep.
was behind his lab and was playing with different things, and they created all these conditions, all these circumstances, and then say, ha ha, let me see how it works out. What if that was the reality of what most of us live in? Like, let me break it down even more. Sometimes we think like, oh, like these things are bad, what I'm seeing, or damn, that's messed up, that happened. But what if this was like a behavior pattern that was produced on purpose? What if you woke up one day? What if you went through all the hard things, lost friends as a kid, all these things happened to you, and you think, damn, I don't got good luck, or why do these things keep happening to me? And then you woke up one day and seeing you was like in this other room, and you seen this man in a lab coat and a suit producing everything that happened to you, and it happened, producing it for someone over here and someone over there and someone over there. What if you seen something like that?
Uh, I wouldn't be surprised.
You want to be surprised? Did I just kind of bug you out with
Nah,
that question?
nah. It's a real question because it feels that way. Like naturally, it feels like someone's controlling the narrative every single day of your
Yeah.
life. And it's like you said before, are we programmed to think that way?
Mhm.
Or is it just really like, damn, we live in the hood, that's all we got? Like
Yeah.
it's definitely a mindset we all at some point might have suffered from. Like there's
Mhm.
people that grew up in the same thing you and I both grew up in, but they're successful because they
Yeah.
didn't cross the street when we crossed the street, or they stayed on the porch when we was on the sidewalk. Like
Yeah.
it's all decisions, but it's more or less like if that was to happen, like if I just wake up and I see like there's someone writing the script for my life, I wouldn't be surprised
Yeah.
because it's like, damn, I
Yeah.
knew not to do that, but it still happened.
It's still
Or
happening.
why did that happen at the
Yeah.
time it happened? Or
Yeah.
why was these people around when certain things happen?
Yeah. You know, when you're a kid, you just think that's a natural order of things. But as you get older, and you look at things and you pay attention, you realize that there's patterns. Like we talk about, you have children, right?
Right.
So you see your kids have certain patterns.
Well, definitely.
But but you see there's certain patterns. But I can't help but to admit these things aren't on like coincidence or by accident. Or you can't mean to tell me you had four of your friends die and me too. Like
Right,
these
right,
things
right,
aren't
right,
coincidences, right? Like these are conditions of poverty,
right.
right? These are conditions of um, racism, like this. And oh my god, so I wanted this to be a little bit of a different type of a podcast, because we're gonna get into what you're doing, but what you're doing is some major work. And when
Right.
I say major, this is the counter narrative. You're doing counter narrative work, and we'll get into that deeper in a second. But I'm just like, when we reconnected, I was like, man, I already see your vision for
Right,
you,
right.
right?
You did.
But I want you to tell us a little bit more about your story and how you got to where you're at with Building Brothers.
So I've been doing volunteer work. So 2010 September, I had just came out of House of Correction, Suffolk County House of Corrections for
Mm-hmm.
doing 18 months.
So you got out of the House of Corrections and you came home doing volunteer work.
Yeah, because nobody wouldn't hire me because of the whole felon thing. What a
Okay.
piece of paper say?
All
Because
right.
I hate this imaginary piece of paper.
Yeah. So we going back to that script. Remember I was telling you
Yeah,
somebody's writing a
that's what I'm
script,
saying.
right? So you go, something happens, you go to jail. Okay. Conditions probably created the situation
Right,
probably
right,
created the
right.
condition for you to go there
Then come
anyways.
home on some other
Then you
conditions,
say, okay,
typical.
let me get a job, let me work, let
Right,
me do the right thing, and you can't get one.
right.
Okay. So now you said, I'm gonna work for free.
In a sense, yes.
Okay.
So I'm a product of the Roxbury YMCA.
Okay.
So when I applied there, it was like, all right, cool. At the time, they needed somebody literally just to sweep the weight room and all that. I'm like, cool. I'm not doing nothing else.
Okay.
I'm at the crib playing Xbox.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
let me get up and do something.
Okay.
So when I applied, I had a. I'm not gonna say ignorant because it wasn't ignorant at all. My mother's the director there. Why not apply?
Okay. Right.
Even she couldn't help me. So it was
Wow.
like, I this
Because of the Corey.
yeah. I'm like, this
Okay.
Corey little situation is real.
Mm-hmm.
Not understanding the whole YMCA is a non-profit, not understanding none of that at that time. So I'm like, damn,
So
man.
I want to help, but I can't help.
Yeah, so it was like, all right, cool. So at the time, all the staff already knew me from like the older staff from when I was a kid, and the younger staff just knew me from seeing me around. And it was like, yo, nah, we need more help in the teen center. Guy Kev Scott, I don't know where he is these days, but he's like, yo, nah, you're not going up there. Come down
Yeah.
here with us. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, cool. But at the time, like, I'm 18 myself.
Okay. So yeah, you're a teenager yourself.
Yeah, like,
You're figuring it out, but you want to help.
nah, I didn't even want to help. It
Okay.
kind of like he seen whatever he seen in me.
He's seen something. So
Yeah.
somebody seen something in you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. From the community, another brother seen something
Yes.
in you. All right.
Yes. So then I'm down there one day, and I'm like, this is all my friends and my friends' siblings, like whatever. Now I'm just, for me, it was like just hanging out. But on paper, it was like I volunteered, but I'm like, I'm not doing nothing more than what we would do on a regular. Like
Right. Right.
we're
Right.
having regular conversation,
Right.
we're playing
Yeah.
basketball, playing pool, playing like we're doing regular kid stuff.
Regular
But
degular.
at the time, I didn't realize everybody didn't look at me as a regular teenager anymore
Mm.
because
How
of
did
the
you know?
because it was that, and then it was like just like the certain like eyebrows that was getting raised as they was coming through
So
the.
these are the same people that you grew up with,
Nah, it was
or just kind
outside people.
okay, but kind of familiar. But they're
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
hey,
Like they heard about the case, and now I'm labeled a felon, a gangbanger. So now they're like, what is he doing with these kids? And it's like these are still my friends,
right,
even though I'm
right,
into what I'm into, but these are still my friends.
okay.
Like, and that's when I'm like, damn, I'm not a regular kid anymore.
Wow, how'd that feel? That pause. Think about that before you answer that.
Nah, I don't even need to. It was hurtful because it was like, damn, like I'm not allowed to make no mistakes. Like I gotta be perfect. Like I gotta live up to y'all standard to be accepted.
Wow.
That hurt. That hurt a lot. Like
Yeah.
especially like when I started noticing it from family, like
Mm.
people like disattaching from my mom or frowning down on. Like it was just
Wow.
like, damn, like
Wow.
because I didn't live the same life as y'all. That made me
Right.
less than y'all. Like
Right.
it
But
was
mind you,
hurtful.
somebody's pulling them strings, pulling them strings,
Yeah, yeah,
pulling your strings, and and your own family and friends community kind of looks at you different.
yeah,
Wow, that's tough because at 18 you're just like, as a young man, like you're just kind of coming into yourself a tad, right?
yeah,
Like just a
yeah,
little bit, just to kind of get outcasted like that. That's crazy.
yeah.
All right, so all right, to create some anger, some frustration.
So me, I would say my anger goes back deeper than that, but definitely it caused me to be more angry than I already was.
Yeah.
And I like confused. I was definitely confused, like, because I just, it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it don't.
Like,
It don't. So what you do with that anger? Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So follow along, moving along. I was like, well, what you do with that anger? Like, you don't have to go into specifics, but like,
So like,
did you self-destruct?
definitely, I became more rebellious than I already was.
Okay.
Um, it was just a lot of like, all
Okay.
right, cool. This what y'all want to see?
Okay. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna give you what you
Yeah.
want. Okay. So there's a self-destruction stage. So here's someone who wants to embrace family community, but yet and still family community that's already kind of being pulled strings on anyways,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
Does the string moving? They you know what I mean? The puppets don't even have to pull the strings because the community will do it against you,
Right.
right? Your own community. So let's fast forward. So we know there's a self-destructing phase that comes with anger. And I always feel like anger and is different. I mean, anger is anger, and anger is a natural feeling. We're supposed to get
Right.
angry. You see
Right.
some
Right.
stuff, you're supposed to get angry. You get sadness, happiness. These are all natural emojis, like all the emojis on your phone. But I think the more important thing is what you do with that anger. But sometimes I think black male anger is different because there's so much of a historical context of the conditions and how black men have been treated in this country. It's a different layer. It's a different layer. It adds like a different layer. Like, not saying, anger is anger for anyone, but knowing the historical context of what black men have been through in this country, I see it.
Right.
It's
Right.
different. It's totally different anger. It's different. But
I
what do you
I
think about that?
wholeheartedly agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the main things like I've had to accept and learn throughout my own experiences in life is like I was never taught how to react to me being angry or how to just be like, I need a minute, let me walk away from this. Like
Yeah.
it was like anger and aggression went hand in hand.
So
But
anger and physical. You were taught what.
yeah, yes, yes.
So I was just telling someone else the other day. I was like, you know how to communicate, you're just not communicating in a healthy way.
Right,
So maybe you know how to communicate your anger, but just not in a healthy way,
right,
right? And you were never taught that.
right.
So what was you taught?
Anger, aggression, the physical aggression. Like once you're angry,
Lash out,
yeah,
rash,
and it was
go
like,
ham,
yeah, and it was like as I got older, it's like, yo, that's mad uncalled for.
right? Like you ever see a video of yourself mad?
Nah, luckily, I don't want to either. I'll be
Yeah,
honest,
but
I don't want to
like,
see it.
even as an adult, like you got kids now, so let your kids record you one day like this you. Like,
I'm
not,
about
and
to
I'm not
try
saying
that.
that
Yeah,
old
yeah,
destructive
nah,
person, but even like when a person gets angry and you don't see that anger. Everybody
right,
else does. Everyone
right,
sees
right,
the
right.
destruction, but you don't see it. But when you actually see that, you be like, "That's me." Like, who that?
Yeah,
Like, nah, that's not me.
I don't even want to see it.
Yeah, okay, we don't want to see that. All right, let's fast forward, right? So anger is something that you need to do something with that. But I feel like that, all right, maybe you self destructed, it's hurtful, you acted out, but you kind of emulate what you see. And
Right.
but again, you said you were going to tell your story, but does that story sound familiar? Do you know anybody else like you, or are you just the only one in this world like that?
Nah, there's no way I'm the At one point, like my mindset and the things I was seeing in the house, in the community, other places, it's like you couldn't tell me another, however, whatever age it may have been at the time, another kid that age wasn't going through the same thing.
Yeah,
But then I started to see, like, nah, bro, it's not as much as you think. It is happening, but
yeah,
not as much as you think.
yeah,
And then it's like, damn, like,
yeah,
why was I dealt this hand and this person? Like, we live on the same street.
yeah. It's funny.
we
It's so funny because growing up, I seen a lot of that. Like I remember when I went to Latin Academy, I wanted to leave. And Latin Academy is an exam school, and I asked my dad if I could leave. And it's right down the street, although it's in Boston, but you have people from outside of like the Roxbury community fighting to
to
get
go
to
there.
that
Yeah,
school. And yeah, I'm like, let me leave, right? And my dad was like, don't leave. If you leave, I'm not going to support you like that. But I didn't understand the power in going to that school. Mind you, my friends are going down the street to the Lewis, right? So I'm going to the Lewis Middle School and then when I get accepted to a different school, like the trajectories
Yeah.
are totally different.
So literally, like I said, you cross one street, it's this. You cross
And these
another
are my
street,
neighbors.
yeah.
So they're like, oh, why you talk like that? Why you walk like that? Like, you talk like a white girl. I'm like, no, I don't. I talk like this all the time. But like, it was just so, the experience is so different. And then it's crazy because these conditions even put people against each other, right? That's next door neighbors and friends, but different outcomes. Like you said, you and your neighbors could have totally different outcomes, but a lot of similar circumstances too.
Right.
And I also like to think like some of our friends and just like our experiences, luckily, and you know what's sad to even say luckily? Like luckily we got out, or luckily that didn't happen to us. What happened to such and such? Like that's sad that you have to grow up living like in luck.
You wanna know what's crazy about you saying that? The other day, like I was saying, like the people that judge us the most, they have to deal with our realities. It's
Mm,
easy. It's easy to say what you would have done in those situations
yeah,
when you never been in the situation.
yeah,
Until you're in the same situation, you can't tell. Not even you can't. You could tell me what you would have did,
yeah,
but I'm not gonna be receptive to that information, nor am I gonna pay any mind to
yeah. That's true. Yeah, that's true. So luckily, right? Luckily, you did. Like that's crazy. Like kids gotta live
and
by
and and
luck.
that's become so normal in our community that like, oh, luckily you made it out. Like, damn, why is that like a
Like
catchphrase?
even
Like,
saying that phrase is like so
yeah,
abnormal. Like what do you mean?
and it's crazy because in another part of the world, there's someone that look just like us going through that though.
Yeah,
The unluck,
yeah.
like,
It may not be another
it,
part of the world. It might be like another neighborhood
yeah, that
down the
too.
street.
But it's just like that's really like a catchphrase in our community.
Yeah, lucky. Like you lucky. You one of the lucky ones. You one of the good ones. Like what? What do you mean? Like like
Yeah,
so we ain't gonna get into all the phrases, but you know those phrases be hit like. So all right. So fast forward. We know like circumstances can create. Like I'm not saying every decision or thing that you made in your life was outside of your control, but in all honesty, like most of the decisions we make are what's put in front of us, what's put in our communities. What's like you could want to eat healthy, but if the only access you have to stores is the corner store, the bodega, and all they got is all the like the little Goya products and little
right,
beef patty
right,
and a couple candies in a little bag and stuff, and that's what you're gonna have access to. That's what you're gonna eat.
right.
Someone told me the other day, like, oh, all black people have high blood pressure. I was like, no, that's not true. I was like, however, if you think about what's in our communities, well, if that's what's in the communities and that's what we're buying, that's what we have access to, then yeah, we may more than likely have a higher number of blood pressure in our communities. But what if we had more of those
Whole Foods.
whole food like stores, right? In our communities, then we'll be chopping it up because we could cook, right? We are creative people, so we'll make whatever. But if we have the opportunities, if we have the resources, we'll utilize them. But we don't oftentimes.
I, so it's funny. It's
Yeah, go
funny.
ahead. Go ahead.
So I was talking about this for weeks now. So uh, me and another one of your little bros, we we did a web series. Well, it's not even we did. We're doing a web
Okay.
series, but it's like the ridicule we getting for doing it. It's like, yo, y'all don't even understand. Like, for some people, this is really all they have to eat and make food with.
I know what you. I know what you're talking about.
so
Okay. Okay.
so then I start thinking back, like, yo, there's ramen noodles. The sodium in that's crazy. Hot dogs. The sodium in that, like, everything is meant to give us the high blood
Yeah,
pressure,
that's what I'm
the
saying.
diabetes,
This is what's in.
but that's what's affordable to the average black family.
It's not even just affordable.
I'm not
That
even gonna say average because there's some families that really might just only be able to eat that for a week straight.
you know what? You're right, but you're right, but I'm not because that's what's the only stuff that's put in our
Right,
communities. So like if there's more options, even if it's like you the same amount that a pack of noodles costs, you can get an apple.
right,
You know what I'm saying? So Like, I hear that, but then I'm like, nah. Like, well, the way the food prices are now, but I'm talking about back then. I'm talking about
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
back
yeah.
then. But like, you can, because even noodles is going up. So, but it's just designed to not put those things in our community, to not even and eat like even if you do eat like I didn't eat pork growing up. I never ate pork, right? So like even like having that lifestyle, whole different outcome, right? But in the community, that's all you think I had options when I went in the store? Like in the corner store,
No.
everything's pork, beef, chicken, but mostly pork,
Or
right?
pork wrap.
Pork wrap, pork wrap. What you want? Or beef patty? What you want? I can't get a veggie patty. No, beef and pork. So like even with that, like you want to do different. You have a different mindset, but that's what's there for you. That's why it's important that we have our own stores and control our own. But we'll get into that. So all right. I think I know what you're talking about with a series about food, and I'm not gonna because y'all gonna
Yeah,
do your own
right,
thing.
right.
But I'm gonna say this: I seen that series, and I said, "Ooh, this is nice." Now, perhaps, of course, the food and stuff may not be the freshest and the best
Right.
food, but I said, "Damn, they not on the streets though. They're actually having fun in here." So why these young black men is in this room playing around and playing with this video and making this show? They're not in the streets. They're having fun. They're actually talking about cooking. How many black men do you know talking about cooking? Now I said maybe it will evolve into okay, let's bring some Dr. CB alkaline diet up in here. Maybe it will evolve into that. But y'all, I seen the vision. I was like, this is great. This is a great thing. But most people can't see that, right?
Right.
Sometimes we
And
always
this
want
the it's like I forget exactly where I read this, but it's like, yo,
gotta
if
start somewhere.
if somebody puts something on the news, right, and run a headline all day long, and that's the only thing you pay attention to, you're gonna be tricked to believe whatever they want you to believe.
Listen, oh my goodness. I teach this in one of my classes. The media is so powerful. They have the control. Like my show, it'll get played, but those who are supposed to hear the show will hear the show. But it's deep stuff on the show. But is they going like I'm not clowning on hold on, let me how I'm gonna say this. What we see as propaganda in media now is you're not gonna hear about this in the media so
Right,
much, right? Because I'm telling you how to heal yourself, how to heal your community, what do for yourself,
right,
own your own. You're not supposed to hear that message. Change the narrative? No, the narrative is this is what black men look like. This is what you know what I'm saying? Like this is that narrative. And so the media has so much power in that way. Like they can make the truth look like a lie and a lie look like a truth. I'm gonna say that again. The media can make the truth look like a lie and the lie look like the truth.
definitely.
Feel me on that?
Definitely.
Gotta process that one,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
So that's power. Because no matter how much we know it's wrong or false, we still hear it. We still you can't undo that, like seeing
Right,
it and
right.
hearing it. So it's funny. I've been telling people like, where you get your news from? Like who? How you get your news? Where do you get that from? You know. But anyways, we'll talk about that. So the media is powerful, but I see you guys doing this show. I think that's a good thing because what I see is like brothers coming together, doing something
Definitely.
positive, cooking.
And it's young men
Young
from
men
all over the city, not just one
coming
section.
together. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Y'all better be careful now. Y'all have brothers coming together. Wait a minute. So I think that kind of segues into building brothers, right?
Right,
Even though these are two different things, it's a when you first got on the show, I said it's a movement.
right. Definitely is.
So that's part of that movement, that mentality, that mindset of building brothers. Tell me about your movement, building brothers
So
617.
it's it started from the volunteer work, but as time went on and things transformed in my life, and I got to see a lot of things for face value. It was more or less like not I don't want to get into the whole we're hurting each other and all that. I feel like now that's the cool message, so that's what everybody's gonna push. It was more so like I understand like I not only do I have kids, my friends have kids, and so on and so forth. Where it's like, yo, they don't gotta do the same thing we did, and we shouldn't want them to. Like, and I have crossed paths with young men that, are, oh yeah, I was when I was in the streets, my son gotta do the same thing, and I'm like,
How do you even
whatever.
sound? Like, how does that even? like how first of all, like that's crazy because to think like to go through the experiences that we go through in in this country and globally, and to say, "Hey, I want that for my children," is
Yeah,
oxymoron.
yeah,
So like that's an oxymoron statement. So, but that's part of the mentality too. But I tell people too sometimes. I'm like, yo, like it's so hard if you did go through challenges as a youth to wake up and see your beautiful children and be like, I want that for you too. Like
yeah, yeah,
nobody wants
yeah.
that for their children. You know what I'm saying? Nobody in
But
their right mind typically wants that for their children.
right.
So like you you kind of have no option but to undo that. Like you can't be like, do that. And you're like, oh, when, like, nah, it don't add up, right?
So me personally, I'm tired of the whole Boston's crab in the barrels and boss. Like, there's a lot of good black people that's doing things from
Of course,
Boston or surround the direct Massachusetts part of
that's
Boston,
right.
whether it's over the bridge, whatever. But it's like a lot of people like, oh, Boston. It's like, nah, bro. Let's build each other up. That's why I like anything positive. I don't care what you're doing. I'ma acknowledge it.
Yeah,
I might not physically be able to make every event, but I'ma
right,
post your
right.
event.
Post it, support.
I'ma
Yeah,
send people your way. Like I'ma shout you out when the time's right. And it's like a lot of people like again, it's the mindset.
that
Like a lot of
mindset.
people be like, oh, like I almost fell victim to it, and that's why I like my catchphrase now be focused on the love because I almost fell victim to the oh nah this dude ain't supporting me. I ain't posting none of his.
Sometimes it can feel like that
And but then it's like, yo, if I do that, I'm becoming the same thing.
that you're trying to change.
Yeah, and it's like not even so much change. Just bring awareness to,
Yeah,
because change is gonna come from the individual. You
yeah,
know, I just want to bring awareness. Like, yo, that's not all we got here. That's
yeah.
not all
That's
we
not the whole
about.
story.
Yeah, and
That's some
that's
people's
not
story,
all
but
I'm about
that's
personally.
yeah. So, um, you're 1,000% correct. So that's not the whole story. That's not your story. And stories can change too. Like I tell people, plans can change. Let's have options. Like the point, my dad, I asked my dad one time, God rest his soul, I said, hey, would you ever date a stripper? And he was like, well, what's she doing now? And I said, dang, that's deep. Because I think sometimes like I think like that what happened to you, like the stigma of like, oh, this person is this, but what they doing now? Like
Right.
what are they doing now is the question, and meaning like there's not stigma around like no nothing against that person, but like what are you doing now? What so
Some
what are
walks
you doing now?
some walks of life just be stepping stones for real,
Yeah,
or it just got to be something someone got to go through.
a lesson or a blessing.
You know, so it's like that's like the what are you doing now? It hit home for me because it's like still to this day I deal with the oh well he did this he did that and I'll be in my head like that was how long ago or like just let it
You
go
be hearing
already.
stories like
Like
we was playing red light, green light, and he like what red light, green light,
yeah,
let the loose, like so
like
like
he stole a piece of candy from my store. Like, yo, bro, come. Like it just be like it's like little stuff like that'll
yeah,
discourage a person. But like I just be grateful for the will and the mindset and ambition I got. Cause it'd be like if I address every little
no,
thing,
you can't.
and
I like Dr. Umar. He'd be like, we must stay focused. We must stay focused.
yeah,
And, sometimes you got to vent. You got to have your spaces to talk and heal and
definitely,
things like that.
definitely.
But then I'd be like, we must stay focused.
One day, my uncle. So I forget what was going on, but it was just me, my uncle, my cousins, my grandfather, just mad of it, just sitting there to us bonding, but to everybody else, drinking, playing dominoes, the regular black household stuff that don't get televised.
Hmm.
So we're all just talking about problems. Most of them's married, so I'm not married, so I'm just listening to
Hmm.
the marriage side of things. So it's just like, and then my uncle's like, "Yo, y'all know it, we're each other's therapists right now." And at the time, it went over my head, and I'm like he's drunk. Like, and it was wrong for me to say that because it's like, yo, that's the same thing the outsiders is gonna do to you.
Right.
But he's right because it's like we don't need to sit down in no room or nothing
Yeah.
to just vent. But that's so frowned upon for black men that it's like people be scared to talk about their problems. Like even myself, I just got comfortable really like, yo, this was wrong.
Yeah.
Or right now, just leave me
Learning how to
alone.
talk, learning how to communicate.
Like
It goes back to that anger. Remember, you was like you never knew
no,
how to
never.
express that anger. So when you're in a room with your uncles and y'all all vibing and talking, that's
It's natural, but that's why. So like I say that more or less to say we need more people like us in
mm,
these rooms to
yeah,
be like, uh, she Malika might know what I've been through. Yo,
yeah,
yesterday my girl left me.
yeah,
She took the kids. She took the car. She took.
yeah, yeah. I'll be like,
you,
yeah.
you you
I'm
you
like,
might have
yeah,
seen that
yeah,
before, to where it's like now
yeah,
I'm comfortable opening up to
yeah,
you what I did to lead up to that, or I might not even say what I did. Just I might just need an ear, right? But it's like when you continuously try to talk to people that you feel like can relate to you, that creates more problems in our community.
yeah. That's true. That's true. But that's why it's important to have representation. Representation matters. That's why I became a social worker. And I know sometimes, what's the first thing you think of when you think of a social worker? Let me just ask that. Go quick. One, two.
DCF.
DCF. Damn. Who else you think? Second word. Second word.
Nah, I'm gone.
Damn. So let me allow me to reintroduce myself. So do I give you those vibes?
No.
Oh, he said first thing he said was DCF, and that's I get it, right? Because there's a lot of stigma around social work. You ever see the movie Malcolm X?
Yep.
All right, pause for a second. Let's go back to when he was a kid, right? Now, everything in that movie is not correct. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, did you see the movie? You seen the movie? All right. Remember, his father was murdered. Okay, and his mother suffered a breakdown, a mental health, perhaps breakdown or something, right? Who was the first person he encountered before his life went down?
The social worker, the foster home.
The social worker.
Yeah,
Do you remember what she looked like and how she acted when she came in that house?
I don't remember that part.
All right, look, you probably desensitized.
Yeah,
You probably seen this so much in our community. Let me remind you. She came in the home and she faulted the mother. Here's a mother who's grieving, who just lost her husband, family, unit, right? Just lost her husband. She has young children to take care of. Her husband, not only did she just lose her husband, he was murdered in a horrific way, in a traumatic way, right? In a racist way too, by a white man. So here's this mom going through suffering, pain, and here this social worker, a white woman, comes into the house and says, "Oh, you can't take care of these kids." Puts her in a psychiatric unit, takes the children, and then his life spiraled out of control from there. Went straight down. So the first person he encountered before he embraced the system in this way and through the years was a social worker. Now pause. Imagine if I was that social worker. Do you think now Malcolm X is a great man and and great teacher, and he had a great teacher, but perhaps he may not have had to go through those circumstances that he and his family went through if he had a social worker, perhaps like myself, who said, "You know what, Mom, you're grieving. Let's talk. How can we help you? What do you need? Do you want to talk? How can we support the family? How can we keep the family together? You have someone the kids can stay with for a little bit while you kind of, how about that? Nah, automatic. Take the kids out the home. You boarding school. These kids, the whole family just was traumatized and then re-traumatized. So historically, social workers have not been the best representation. They have been gatekeepers. I ain't gonna lie. There's a lot of racism in historical roots. But then that's why it's important for people like me to be in those positions.
right,
Do you want that social worker or do you want Malaka, right? As your social worker who's going to come with this lens, a whole different lens, right? So I tell people social workers are in every system. Courts, social worker. Schools, social worker. Hospital, social worker. Skill facility, social worker. You can't name one that's not in every institution. So typically they're probably kind of gatekeeping.
right.
But if they're in our communities, how about we have representation that look like you and I? Would you be a social worker?
Now or before?
Now,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
knowing what
yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah,
now.
definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But 20 years ago, you might be, what,
Yeah,
DCF, right?
definitely now, especially knowing how much resources the city of Boston has to offer and the access I personally have to a lot of the people that's in charge of those resources.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely would.
Okay, so let's pause. Social work is a service model job. So what if you help people? You're already volunteering. Let's talk about building Brothers 617. What are you doing with the brothers? What are you doing with the youth? That's so special. Why is this a good thing? Why is this a movement?
So for me, and I get ridiculed for this too. Like a lot of the young men, they confide in me, and I never go to the parents unless it's like some detrimental where it's like, all right, this kid's in danger. But luckily, I haven't had to deal with none of those type of situations. It'd be
Mhm.
like a lot of confused,
Mhm.
like one little kid, he's 15. This past summer, a girl broke his heart. Like I told him, you ain't get your heart broke for real yet.
Yeah. Right.
You
Right.
hurt right now,
Right.
but
You'll be all right.
I've been there before, young
Yeah.
man. You feel?
Yeah.
But it's just like the ability they have and the access to me that they have, where it's like a lot of these young kids, they done heard the stories of stuff I may have or may didn't do in the street. So it's like,
So they look up to you.
yeah. So it's like it makes it easier for them to come to me with certain things,
So they feel safe.
and definitely. So it's like for the everything I've done, been no more than 2 hour sessions, whether it's football, basketball, or just us riding through the city or like.
So where do you get these kids? Like, how do they get to you? How do they come to
So
you?
all jokes aside, I'm really in the community, so it's like
Okay, because I
I
think I seen you at
yeah,
a book bag. You was hosting a book
yeah.
bag
So
drive, and I was like, "Ooh, this is nice!
yeah,
Like, this
so
is
that
nice."
that was the second one I did,
Who
but
supported that?
the streets.
So the hold on. Okay, I'm getting Black Panther vibes, but no, but so the community came through and supported that.
Yeah,
The streets came through and funded or helped with that or assisted with
right,
that for their own community.
right.
That's powerful.
So
Come on, no, 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 no,
nah,
no,
so
no.
I definitely want to shout that out. Like that back to school drive, like for me so far, that's my best body of work. It's so personal to me because, like you said, like when like I was also falling victim to this. Like, oh, when I was outside doing X, Y, and Z, people showed me love. The thing that I thought was love,
Thought was love.
you know. So it was like, oh, damn, nobody love me no more, and I'm
Yeah,
like, I'm tripping.
yeah,
Like that's the easiest way to fall back victim to that.
yeah,
And then like
yeah.
I didn't again why I say focus on the love is because I ain't pay attention to the people that's like, yo, nah, bro. We remember when you was doing that. Nah, what you need? How we gonna keep you out of that? So when the streets and the things everybody frowned upon embraced me and was like, yo, nah, we gonna pour into that. Don't worry about that. Yo, I got
Wow.
this. I got like it was guys that's felons on paper, you know, because I hate that. I hate that. Like
Right.
that's like
It doesn't define who you are. It's kind of
on the
like,
grill,
yeah, on the
playing
grill.
playing
Oh, that's,
sports with the kids,
yeah. Giving
DJing.
back
Every aspect of that was like, yo, this is who these men are, despite of how
the
y'all may
conditions.
fail.
Yeah,
And it was like it was just so personal again to me that because it was like, yo, I did this my way.
yeah.
I
Wow.
did this my way with my people. Like I ain't have to outsource,
We
even
have
though
to.
that would be lovely eventually.
Yeah,
But it's like, nah, now I'm gonna show y'all how I
yeah,
could do this without y'all. Would I love y'all help? Absolutely.
yeah.
But I'm gonna do this without y'all if I have to.
That's a powerful statement, powerful movement. But it goes back to like we getting back that power that has been taken from us as a people. And like, right now it's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world and in general. But I also feel like it's a good time, like because this system that we're part of, like all these things are part of a system.
Right.
And the reason why you don't get the help when you're saying, hey, I'm this guy who wants to help the community, and people are turning their back on you, these organizations and agencies sometimes, not all, but some, is because they're all part of a system.
Right.
And the system is designed to do exactly what it's supposed to. But the system is not designed for communities to help communities. The system's not like, it's like, whoa, hold on, when you start doing that. So I think that's a powerful movement of
Ooh.
like taking care of your own community. Like, hey, I'm from this community. These are my kids. Yeah, I was in the streets or whatever. Maybe, maybe not. But I'm gonna give back. I'm gonna be on a grill. I'm gonna cook. Hey, book bags. Let's come together. And that's the representation our youth need to see. So you're out here mentoring youth. They're coming to you. They're seeking you for support, right?
Right.
And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think you should consider becoming a social worker so you could take things to another level. Not saying you can't take it to another level, but maybe there's another level that you could take it to,
Right.
and it might open some doors for you, right? But I just don't. I always tell people to be social workers because I want that representation. So I'm always going to push that.
There
And,
definitely need to be more people like us
and
as
and
social
if you're
workers.
naturally doing it, then you might as well make a career out of it, right? If
Right.
this is you're good at it, right? So I love this. I love this for you. I love this for our people. I love this for the community. But I love that you took something, hey, volunteerism, and took it and turned it to something beautiful. And now you're going to be like taking things to the next level, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So like I've been like I don't want to say looking, but like a lot of things been falling into my lap,
Ooh,
all around the board. So it's like a lot of people that's like uh a brother said something to me a few weeks ago, right? And at the time again, like I hear him, but I'm not really listening.
yeah.
He was like, "Yo, you know the top people in City Hall and the top people in the streets." And I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? Like,
Okay.
so
Okay.
I brushed it off at the time, but as the days go on and I sit with that more, it's like to an extent he's not lying.
Yeah.
Like there are people I know in certain offices where it's like
And you
I
have
can literally
connections
call them up, and there's people I do know in the streets like, yo, bro,
building.
there's this little dude, let him stay a sports dude, or whatever the conversation that I need to get have is had, and
So, all right. So you're saying you know people in City Hall and in the streets, right? And I think that's a good thing. But why does that what does that matter, right? Like what does that matter to a young black man like yourself?
it matters and it's powerful because there's things that the people is would like to that they can't really control. And that's where a guy like me comes into play at because I'm not saying I could control everything, but I know the people that have the influence to where I could have a call and the things they want to be controlled can potentially get controlled.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned the word influence and control. And again, I think that goes back to earlier what we talked about, like controlling our own narrative. And controlling our own narrative kind of starts with like how we're influenced and who we connect with, right? Making those connections community.
Right.
It's really sometimes people don't understand how important it is to make connections and know people. You don't gotta like everybody, and everybody don't gotta like you, right? Because I'm sure there's many people that don't like me. I'm very sure of that.
Right.
I'm very sure there's a lot of people that love me. But at the end of the day, when you're trying to make a move or bust a move or do something, you need connections. You need a network. And so having your ear and connections to the community and to the streets per se, and then having it in other areas of the city or it's really powerful because that's how you build bridge that gap, right? You're that bridge. You're that bridge. Whereas some people may be on top but don't know how the bottom works. And some people may be on the bottom and don't know how the top works. So we need that bridge, you know?
For me also, it's there's more me's. It's just I feel like there's people in certain positions that are scared to talk to the rest of me's in the communities. So for me, that's another reason why it brings a lot of power because it's
Yeah.
like if I could just show you like I you think there's just one of me, no. There's plenty more of me in
God.
the same city. It's
Yes.
just they don't know how to get to where I am. So I could show you how to get to them better than they know how to get here. Or I even show them how I got here because I still question how I got here.
But the point is, you said this, you know, like you always thinking of other people. Like, not all you like, oh, I'm just doing this, but like you're like, yo, it's more of me. There's more me's out here, right?
Yeah,
It's just not a me
there is.
thing. I love that because not sometimes in the world, it's like, especially the world we live in now, it's I, or what could you do for me? It's not like people are always looking out for each other. So you're saying, hey, there's more me's, and guess what? More me's need to be able to, like, you can come talk to us. Like, we can have these conversations. We can
Right,
build,
right,
right? And going back to that anger that we kind of talked about earlier, I'm gonna pause for a second, but
right,
you know how we talked about anger, and you just brought me something to my mind when you talked about that. Anger, especially in our communities, is so different just because historical roots of like racism and all that stuff and structural racism. But there's two type of angers. There's constructive anger and destructive anger. And one you mentioned was destructive, right? Earlier, like shutting down, turning up, whatever. That was a destructive anger. But everyone's gonna get angry. So now this part is the constructive anger. What am I gonna do with these feelings, these emotions? This is the constructive part. Building, like construction, making
right, right,
connections.
right,
That's construction. That's the constructive anger. So like you gotta do something with it, right? So so many connections today. I mean, we hit on a lot of different points. We talked about family dynamics, communities, power, like up here, down here. We talked about racism. We talked about Malcolm X. We talked about mixed voluntary
right,
community, going to jail, coming back, family, being a father. And by the way, you're a father, right? So, like,
right,
it's important to set the tone, to set the, break some of these what do we call it? Intergenerational traumas or patterns or whatever, right? Your kids gotta see something different. Like, we cannot be like,
right, right,
like,
right,
this is
right,
it,
right.
y'all. Like, no, no. So all right. Building Brothers 617. Like I said, it's a movement. It's building. We doing something with
Definitely.
it's a whole movement. And I hope you use that framework going forward. Like, it's a movement, right? Um, if you had to drop a jewel, because you dropped several jewels today. We dropped a lot. We did a lot today, which is good. What does it mean to drop a jewel to you? Now that we've gone through the show for the most part and talked about like all these different things, what does the name of the show is Drop a Jewel with Malaka. So what does it mean to drop a jewel to you?
Um, it, for me, it holds many different meanings because it could just be some advice. It could be, something somebody might have not been aware of, just to help them out in their day to day. So for me,
Mhm.
it's many different things. Or it might just be a piece of information that somebody needed, or any piece of information for real.
Yeah, yeah. Has anyone ever dropped a jewel to you? Has anyone ever gave you a
All of that.
yeah,
A lot of Jews got dropped on me through life.
yeah, yeah,
Some I picked up on later than others, but a lot of Jews was dropped on me.
yeah. And what you do with those jewels?
Um, Present day, I use a lot of them now.
Yeah, yeah.
Present day, I
So
definitely use a lot of them.
would you say they're valuable?
Definitely,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. That's the thing about Jews being dropped. You never know who's going to drop them.
Okay, okay. That's why I liked in my show because I be having a range of different people on here from different backgrounds. I'm not like, ooh, bourgeois. I only can have certain people. No, it's everybody. Everybody got a Drew. Everybody got a story, right? But the more important part is your story have so it can influence people and bring value to their life. That's the part
Right.
right here, the value part. The jewels are valuable. That's what a jewel is. It's value. So before you leave today, all right. So since everyone that came before you and dropped you several jewels and got you to this place, now it's your turn. In the spirit of Kwanzaa, come up. It's your turn.
uh,
So
I the
take
the
a
one
moment.
jewel I the
Hmm.
one jewel that automatically comes to my head and snaps right away
Hmm.
is don't let anyone tell you you can't do something because they never achieved at it.
Mm. Okay.
Never let no one tell you you can't do something just because they didn't achieve at it. Because there's a lot of that goes on and it discourages people. So my one jewel would be never let anyone tell you. you can't do something just because they didn't achieve at it.
That's woo, that's powerful. That's powerful right there. Because you would think that that's a simple jewel, but when you think about it and you reflect on your own life, I'm sure there's plenty of people that told you stuff like, "Nah, you shouldn't do that. Yeah, what you doing? What are you doing?" Like, and they even did it. Yo, can you give me
Yeah,
the inspiration
yeah.
behind that jewel?
Like I like when I first start my transition of trying to figure out how I can get out of the streets or it's the street mentality. Like there was a lot of people that like was like, "Oh, it never ends," which is to an extent a fact. But it's like my street mentality can end, whether the action end or not. The places I put myself in, but the mentality doesn't have to continue. There was a lot of older brothers that was telling me like, "That's bull. This is how it could end if you do Y and Z." So it's like it was the people that never stopped thinking in the street mentality that was trying to tell me that it was everlasting and it could never happen.
Yeah. Wow,
So it
that
it was just for me that me trying to make the transition is where that jewel came from. Because a lot of people never achieved it to say where it could go, or a lot of people never seen past the the city of Boston to think in a different manner.
yeah. Wow, that jewel is is really inspirational because not only are you saying, "Hey, don't let people tell you that you can't do something they haven't done themselves," you're connecting it with this cycle of street mentality of saying, "Hey, people telling you you can never get out the streets. Once you're in the streets, you're in it." And you're like, "No, it's a
Yeah,
mind. You can't." And you're telling me that you can't do something that you never tried to do or you haven't done, but you know it's real. You can shift that lifestyle where
you can.
people watching this, whoever needs to watch this is going to watch this. Whoever needs to hear this is gonna hear this because sometimes the youth feel like they can't get out of something. They're stuck and it becomes a cycle. And sometimes that does happen, unfortunately, for many people. They do get stuck in that cycle. But what you're saying is, no, you can get out of this. You can leave this. But I also want to pay homage too to the streets in a way of like when I first did my trailer for the show, I talked about Xing out the good, taking out the good and Xing out the bad. So there's a lot from the streets that is good. There's a lot of things that you learn in street savvy and things like that that are is good that you can still apply to business and in a business
Right.
mindset. So that's I don't want to take away from that part either. So we could take that part. There's a lot of survival and good things, community and things and that do come from the neighborhood, right? But there's some things we just gonna leave at. we go
Right,
we need to
right,
leave
right.
that, like, right? So
Everything don't need pressing.
right, right. Yes, everything don't be I like that. So, but breaking that cycle, breaking those chains, right? Like, we can get out of this. It was a setup from the beginning anyways. It was a whole setup. It was a whole setup, and that's why I brought up earlier in our talk around, like, how there's a scientist in the lab with a lab coat, kinda pulling the
Yeah,
strings
the
and
puppets.
creating these conditions, and this is real. This is real talk. While people are partying and drinking and getting high and stuff, there's a whole group of people and groups of people creating and planning your life for you. And they don't have your favor. They don't have your they want to destroy our community. So but there's also a lot of good people doing a lot of good work, and you're one of them, and I'm one of them. And so we can change these narratives, we can break this stigma, and mentorship is so important. So the same way people drop jewels to you, you got to continue to drop those jewels to the youth because they're coming to you, they connect with you, they love you, and obviously you love them back, you're connecting with them. And I just imagine what the jewels that you drop to them and the time that you give to them and the effort that you give to them, how that's going to shift their life, right? How that's gonna change their outcome. So I really appreciate that. Um,
I appreciate you having me.
yeah. Any last thoughts before we leave tonight?
Nah, that jewel, I needed it too. So, that jewel, I needed it too. So
Yeah,
I would definitely like to end it with that.
yeah, for sure. So, Coach Kobe, where can folks find you if they want to get in touch with you, if they want to learn how to work with you and partner with you and give back with you, right? Because people talk the talk, but let's walk the walk. How can they connect with you?
On Instagram is building underscore brothers617.
Okay.
Um, the email is buildingbrothers03@gmail.com. And then my personal Instagram is KOBCAIN, cocaine, on Instagram. But more of the work gets done on the Building Brothers Instagram,
All
the
right.
real stuff.
Okay. So, folks, you have it. Coach Kobe, Building Brothers 617. It's a movement, it's a mindset shift in the community, right? Um, get with Coach Kobe, participate, donate, show up, drop a jewel in Malika. We're going to show up and we're going to have a good time. It's going to be lit. So, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Let's work.
Let's go.